love. Talk them a chat. I tell me a talk from me up with beer badness, back at that. Tell nobody, them a talk them a chat. I tell me a talk from me up with beer badness, back at that. Man psycho, cause I run boy, yeah. Oh, me no know about them, but me know about we. Cause I be run boy, yeah. Boy, them a flip me watch it, touch a button for me chest. Me knew one of them boy, yeah. But I send some cyanide and go to Jim again, boda. No boy just a lick them big sissy mouth. You no bow in a fear on ya. You no bow in a fear on ya. Yeah. Say them a thugs and nobody no heard of them. Tough chat like your woman afraid of you. Mind me send one of me demon girl from Sparta. Come kiss off you make them heard of you. This me no wanna if not suppose. No I send me friend them Campion in a crowd. So don't
we found Rebecca Stanley, Jaden Clark, Jamia Williamson, Reynardo Knight, Samantha Samon, Jordan Hibbert, Cameron Buchanan, and Dirk Harrison. Okay, so this is how it's going to go. We are going to start with the questions, and it's going to be cultural awareness. So each contestant is going to choose from this bowl that I have, and they're going to be asked a question from the judges. Deep breath, guys. Are you ready? So, judges, he has number 6. Just give us a moment. They're smiling, no nerves, everything's, they're ready. Oh, and apologies. This section is actually the cultural history section. Correct. No, but you are right. You have the right number. All right, let's just clap them one more time. Perfect. So, once again, he is number 6.
Good evening, Makini. Good evening, judges. Translate the school motto into English. Thank you for that question, judges. The school motto in English is I apologize. Steadfast in faith and good works. Thank you. Thank you.
Go ahead and choose your question. What number is that? Okay. She has number 11.
Good evening, Shante.
Good evening, judges.
What is a symbol of victory on the school shield?
The symbol of victory on the school shield is the palm. Thank you.
Go ahead and choose a number. What number is that? Turn it around. 3. He has number 3.
Good evening, Kai.
Good evening, Demario.
Your question is, what is the exact date in January that Campion was founded?
Good evening again, judges and the audience. Thank you for the question. The date that Campion was founded is January 5th, 1960.
Okay, and the number is number 7.
Your question is, give the full name of the first non-Jesuit principal of Campion College.
Thank you for
Let me
that
repeat. Give the full name of the first non-Jesuit principal of Campion College.
Thank you for that question. The full name of the first non-Jesuit principal of Campion College is John James Mackay.
So he has chosen number 4.
Your question is, to what religious order did our first headmaster belong?
Good evening, judges and audience. Thank you for that question. The religious order to which our first headmaster belonged was the Society of Jesus, aka the Jesuits. Thank you.
Number 5.
Good evening, Jamia.
Good evening, Ronaldinho.
In what year did Campion officially become fully co-educational?
Good evening, judges, and good evening, audience. Thank you for that question. The year that Campion College became fully co-educational was in 1976. Thank you.
He has chosen number 1.
Good evening, Renato.
Good evening, Gabriel.
What subject did Dr. Henry teach when he was the vice principal?
Good evening, judges. Good evening, audience. Thank you for that question. The subject Dr. Henry taught when he was vice principal of Campion was computer science.
Number 13.
Good evening, Samantha.
Good evening, Jaden.
What line follows Rise Campion Rise in the school song?
Good evening again, Jaden. Good evening, audience. The line that follows that line is raise your banners to the skies.
He has chosen number 8.
Good evening, Jordan.
Good evening, Demario.
So your question is, this was question 8, right? Okay, thank you. Which building on the campus is named after Father John Ruddy?
Thank you for that question. The building named after John Ruddy is the main office. Thank you.
Number 12.
Good evening, Cameron.
Good evening, Gabriel.
Who wrote Campion's school song?
Thank you for that question. Good evening again, and good evening, audience. The person who wrote Campion College's school song is Sister Mary Christine, OSM. Thank you.
All right. This is number 9.
Good evening, Dirk.
Good evening, Mrs. Holdsworth Mackenzie.
What is the alternate name for Campion Hall?
Thank you for that question. Good evening, audience. The alternate name for Campion Hall is Roslyn Hall.
Okay, so just put these back into the bowl. We're going to move on. It's okay, you can leave it. We're going to move on to the next question. The next set of questions are for cultural awareness. Don't worry, just drop them back in. It's going to be another set of bowl questions. All right, here we go. For his cultural awareness question, he has chosen number 2.
Good evening. Your question is, what would you say is Jamaica's biggest impact globally?
Thank you for that question. Good evening, judges. Good evening, audience. I would say that Jamaica's biggest impact globally is its music, as we have had many legends in the music industry throughout the years, such as Third World, Bob Marley, Chronix, and we continue to produce wonderful artists each and every day. And it has inspired, our music, reggae, has inspired so many across the world that even members outside of Jamaica are inspired by it and are winning even awards for producing music in our genre. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead and choose a number. For her cultural awareness question, she's chosen number 4.
Good evening again. To what extent does TikTok add to the mental health crisis faced by teenagers?
Good evening, judges and audience. Thank you for that question. I believe that TikTok has significantly affected the mental health of teenagers. This is because through the use of TikTok, it fosters a sense of comparison in teenagers, as people on TikTok and many other social media platforms post their self at their best and also post what they have. So teenagers seeing this may feel like they are less than, that they are not good enough, as I said, comparing themselves to others. But I must say that on TikTok, like many other platforms, people are able to share their mental health experiences, which shows awareness for mental health. So while it does significantly affect teenagers in a negative way, there are also pros. Thank you.
For his cultural awareness question, he's chosen number 10.
Good evening, Kai.
Good evening, Ms. Holders Mackenzie.
There has been an increase in the number of children killed, injured, and abused in Jamaica. What does this say about the state of our nation?
Good evening again, judges and the audience. Thank you for that question.
Let me repeat the question. There has been an increase in the number of children killed, injured, and abused in Jamaica. What does this say about the state of our nation?
Thank you again. This says that the nation is in a poor state, as in regards to this topic, the children are our most fragile and vulnerable people. And for them to be subjected to such horrible situations, for them to be subjected to such horrible situations is awful. And I believe that there should be various programs set in place to help these children and to build a sense of safety for these same children that are undergoing these problems. Thank you.
Thank you. For her cultural awareness question, she's chosen number 12.
Good evening, Rebecca.
Good evening, judges and audience.
Post-COVID, the attention paid to mental health seems to have waned. Is there still a need for close attention to be paid to mental health?
Thank you for that question. Yes, I believe close attention should be paid to mental health. Now more than ever, if not during COVID. Firstly, during COVID, a lot of people joined social media platforms as a way to communicate with friends and families online rather than physically, as we were not able to do that. Therefore, more people are exposed to the negative effects of social media, and that can have a bad effect on their mental health. Therefore, I believe that close attention should be paid to mental health, even during post-COVID. Thank you.
He has chosen number 8.
Good evening, Jaden.
Good evening,
Your
Mr.
question
Mandel.
is, do Campionites have a responsibility to give back to the nation? Tell us some of the ways that they have done this.
Thank you for that question. I wholeheartedly believe that Campionites have a responsibility to give back to the nation. This is because, according to our own school handbook, which contains our school mission, a Campionite at the time of graduation or at the end of their tenure at Campion College should be a citizen committed to a nation, or building a nation rather, characterized by social justice, love, and respect for all. The ways in which Campionites have done this could be, or Green Gen Club, service clubs such as Green Gen, Key Club, that are constantly figuring out ways to give back to our nation. For example, Green Gen regularly collaborates with Grace Kennedy to host beach cleanups to maintain and protect our environment. With regards to our alumni, Mustard Seed Communities, which is founded by a Campionite, is an organization committed to helping the most vulnerable members of our society, that being pregnant teenagers, abandoned children, and disabled people. And And this charitable effort goes as evidence that Campionites must and will continue to contribute to our society. Thank you.
She has chosen number 3.
Good evening, Jamelia.
Good evening, Mrs. Holworth Mackenzie.
What reforms do you think the Ministry of Youth, Education and Information could put in place to improve primary education in Jamaica? Let me repeat. What reforms do you think the Ministry of Youth, Education and Information could put in place to improve primary education in Jamaica?
Good evening again, judges, and good evening, audience. Thank you for that question. I think that some reforms that the
Hello? Hello? Okay.
Thank you.
Mic testing. Mic test. I'll hold it.
Sorry again. Thank you for that.
Can we get a mic change? Thank you. All right, let's start over.
Thank you for that question again. I think some reforms that the Ministry of Youth, Education and Information can implement to better primary education is programs that teach socio-emotional literacy and conflict resolution, because as we all know, nowadays you see so much uptick in violence in schools, and I think that is because they're not taught how to healthily resolve conflict. So I think those programs should be implemented, as well as implementing policies that better cater to students with disabilities, both learning and physical, because the facilities that are now in place aren't up to par, or they're not enough as you see in a high school. And this doesn't foster the environment of inclusivity that should be open to those students. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for that, Jamia. Just a reminder to the audience that we need to hear the questions. So remember, in support of your Mr. and Miss Campionite, make sure that the judges can hear. Moving on to the next one. He has chosen number 1.
Good evening, Reynardo.
Good evening, Demaria.
Your question states, the year 2023 has been confirmed as the warmest on record. What are the implications of this trend for Jamaican schools and the learning environment?
Thank you for that question. Good evening, judges. Good evening, audience. Firstly, before I begin, I would just like to say that global warming is the reason why we are seeing the rise in heat in the world and in Jamaica. Now, Jamaica is in a very heat-friendly zone, the tropical climate, right? So this would lead to children being very dehydrated, or teachers also being very dehydrated, which would lead to a lack of partake in the teachers, constantly having to hydrate themselves, constantly having to work out themselves to even more energy because the heat is beating on their skin, right? And then the students themselves, they are in a state of discomfort. They're in a state where they could possibly face heat strokes, die from dehydration, and many more heat-related illnesses. Now, ways I believe that we could fix this problem is through proper ventilation in our school systems, whether it be through fans or ACs, or, for example, our computer science lab, it has a very ventilated place, has ACs, and we could put that in our other classrooms. Thank you.
Our lovely lady in the green has chosen question number 11.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Number 11. What life lessons have you learned from any one subject that you have studied at Campion College?
Thank you for that question, Ronaldinho, and good evening again to the judges and to the audience. I do believe that I have learned a lot of life lessons from all my subjects at Campion College. But if I were to pick one, I would say mathematics at all levels. And I've learned that when I am faced with obstacles, I need to stop and think, and that not all the time am I going to get the right answers. And most of you may know that when doing mathematics, you're gonna get very hard questions, very challenging questions. And you really have to sit back, have patience, and think about the question. You may get the wrong solution at first, but at the end of the day, if you try and try, you will get the right solution. So I do think that I have learned a very valuable life lesson from mathematics, and that is to have patience and really think about solutions to obstacles before I attack them. Thank you.
Okay. Our next contestant has chosen number 7.
Good evening, Jordan.
Good evening, Jaden.
What are some benefits and drawbacks of incorporating artificial intelligence in teaching and learning in schools?
Thank you for that pleasant question, Jaden. I'm going to ask you to repeat, please.
Sure. What are some benefits and drawbacks of incorporating artificial intelligence in teaching and learning in schools?
Good evening, judges. Good evening, audience. I believe that AI is important in our daily life, and it should be pushed forward. But sometimes students who lack integrity, they become dependent on it, and it makes them very not reliant in themselves. Another benefactor, one benefactor of AI is with teachers, as it is used to grade tests, create MCQs, and that is efficient. Thank you.
Okay, the next contestant's number is 9.
Good evening, Cameron.
Good evening, Gabriel.
If you were mayor of Kingston for the day, which of the following initiatives would you choose to tackle and why? Homelessness, crime, or litter?
Thank you for that question, Gabriel. While I do believe that all of those problems that we face are important, if I was mayor of Kingston for a day, I would choose to tackle crime. I think so because in 2023, we had the highest record of crime in our whole existence as a country. And I think that if we were to put all our resources and facilities in crime, we could free up resources to tackle the other issues that we are facing as a country. And while I may say that a day is not enough to solve crime and crime is not a one and done, I do believe that if I were to implement a plan, we could better lay the foundation for the future. Thank you.
He's chosen number 5.
Good evening. Your
evening,
question
Mr.
is,
Mondale.
the infrastructural landscape of Kingston is changing. What do you think about the increased number of townhouse complexes and high-rise office buildings that you see springing up around the city?
Thank you for that question. Good evening again, judges and audience. While the increasing number of high-rise buildings in Kingston provides homing solutions and job opportunities for many residents, it is sometimes has negative effects, such as building these high-rise buildings in residential areas with low-lying homes. It allows for persons to see into these homes, these private areas where persons don't want to be seen. Also, it leads to the overpopulation of Kingston, which is a serious issue, which we see reflected in the traffic issue in Kingston. A solution to this issue is by developing other parishes and areas
to include offices and homes of the same quality as in Kingston to relax the issue rather than obstructing the peace and flow in Kingston. Thank you.
Okay, we've reached the end of the questions and answer segment. Congratulate them. Thank you so much, contestants. All right, come out, guys. Makini Thompson. Shante Hillman. Kai Justin Yap. Rebecca Stanley. Jaden Clark. Jamia Williamson. Reynardo Knight. Samantha Samon. Jordan Hibbert. Cameron Buchanan. And Dirk Harrison. All right, so give them one last round of applause. They're all winners. Their talent, your vote, and the questions got them here. So we're gonna start with the sectional prizes. The winner of most congenial goes to Reynardo Knight. For your most popular Mr. Campionite, Reynardo Knight. For your most popular Miss Campionite, Samantha Samon. For your best talent, Mr. Campionite, Jaden Clark. And for your best talent, Miss Campionite, Cameron Buchanan. For your most culturally aware Mr. Campionite, Jaden Clark. For your most culturally aware Miss Campionite, Jamia Williamson. Now, those were the sectional prizes. We're moving on to the winners. Deep breaths. We're all winners, but there can only be two Mr. and Miss Campionite. Second runner-up, Mr. Campionite, goes to Reynardo Knight. Congratulations. Congratulations. We're moving on to our second runner-up, Miss Campionite. All right? All right, ready, guys? Second runner-up, Miss Campionite, goes to Jamia Williamson. Congratulations. And now we're moving on to our first runner-up. First runner-up, Mr. Campionite, goes to Jaden Clark. Congratulations. Whew. All right. Now for your first runner-up, Miss Campionite. First runner-up, Miss Campionite, goes to Cameron Buchanan. Congratulations. And it's now time to announce your Mr. and Miss Campionite 2024. It was extremely tight. Are you ready? Your Mr. Campionite is Derek Harrison! Congratulations! Mr. Campionite 2024. Now for the winner of Miss Campionite. Your Miss Campionite 2024, Samantha Salmon! Congratulations! And congratulations to everybody! Miss Campionite 2024. Clap them one last time, everybody. All right. I think it's about to say it's time for like the end dance off. Yeah? DJ, please come up, step up, guys, for the Mr. Campionite and Miss Campionite.